guys, I'm ChezPride and welcome back to another Sims 4 news related video. And this time we are mainly focused on the Sims 4 Royalty and Legacy expansion pack, and in particularly its Dynasty system. So the Sims team came out with a gameplay trailer as well as a Q&A over on their Discord that gave a lot of new information on the Dynasty system as well as touched on a couple other topics. So we're going to go ahead and look at all that, as well as there is another Sims related announcement that I'll talk about at the end of the video. But I want to start out with reminding yourself what exactly we are talking about when it comes to the Dynasty system and how it works in The Sims 4. Now, if you're not familiar with how a dynasty works or what really a dynasty is, basically, if you look up the definition of a dynasty on Google, it says generally a line of hereditary rulers of a country, or more specifically, a succession of people from the same family who play a prominent role in business, politics, or another field, such as royalty. And I feel like the Sims team is kind of going off that second definition because they're making it to where anyone can have a dynasty. So there is the royalty part of this pack. Like, you can be a ruler of a kingdom. Any world can be a kingdom. You can assign anyone to be the ruler of that kingdom as long as they're in the career, I believe. And then they can pass it down to their family and whatnot. So that's kind of how the royalty system works. And obviously a dynasty system would go well with that, because with the dynasty system, you have prestige and unity bars. And basically when you are the heir of a dynasty, you can set rules and regulations and choose your family members that are in the dynasty, which can be either blood related or related by marriage, because it is supposed to be a family thing. And you choose a crest and all of that, and people will kind of look in on your dynasty, and particularly how the Sims in your dynasty act in public compared to the rules of your dynasty will depend on your prestige. And the higher prestige you have, I feel like pretty much the more respected you'll be. But the lower prestige you have, people could hate your family or whatnot. And it does seem like it's more supposed to be slightly for the upper class, but the way the Sims are doing it, you can pretty much have any family have a dynasty. So before we jump into the trailer, I just want to go back to this article that we read in the first video I put out about the pack, and we are just going to reread how they say the dynasty works, and then we'll watch the trailer, kind of talk about it, and then we'll go into the Q&A questions that gives even more understanding and detail. So it says, for the dynasties great and quaint. Andorian is where family dynasties of all sorts rise and fall. Your Sims can join one or start their own with the dynasty system. They can shape their house's identity, defining values, appointing heirs, and creating lore for future generations that they can brag or cry about. Any Sim can become the head of their own dynasty. They can cast someone out entirely or designate someone as an outcast to stop them from damaging the dynasty's prestige. Founding a dynasty puts your Sims in charge of all the big decisions, selecting the family crest, enforcing values, forming alliances, and even deciding who inherits and who is casted out. Prestige and unity track the success of your dynasty. Forge alliances, avoid scandals, and strategically grow and influence across generations. New interactions like dynasty heir, dynasty outcast, upstart family headship, or expel a Sim from dynasty transforms generational storytelling into active playable moments. Every triumph is a scandal ripples through the family tree, turning your house into a truly living, evolving legacy. And then the last thing it says about it, says, but beware, every secret affair, misstep, or rivalry could impact the prestige and even challenge the values that you have chosen. Family members may threaten to leave, or they may call another member a rebel against those values. Choose your dynasty wisely, for loyalty and ambition must be carefully balanced. So that's kind of what we already got in the article from quite a few weeks ago. Now we have the trailer. So I went ahead and tried to make the volume where it wouldn't blow out your ears, but if you have to adjust the volume, I do apologize. But I'm just going to play this trailer real quick, and then we'll just kind of mute it and go back through it and kind of like really break down the details, pause on things like the Dynasty setup page and whatnot. So let's go ahead and watch this trailer.
Dynasties are here. This is about legacy, your family identity, your ideals, your crest, all carried on long after you kick the bucket. A dynasty might be a whole family of nobles, or mysterious icons, or wealthy entrepreneurs. But let's back up a bit and talk about how you can start a dynasty. As the founder and head of a dynasty, you get to make all the big decisions. Choosing the family crest, enforcing the family values, and even inviting your favorite family members from other households to join. There are two measures of a successful dynasty: unity, meaning how well dynasty members get along, and prestige, which is earned by living by your values, or lost by going against them. Naming your heir ensures your dynasty will carry on, though your cool auntie is probably too busy to accept. Maybe choose somebody who actually wants the position. There you go. Individual actions may only have a small impact on prestige, but every little bit helps. And prestige equals perks. Like getting a tutor or faster promotions at work. Everyone say Nepo baby. Or even making alliances easier, since prestige receives a boost from forging connections with other dynasties too. Even when you find yourself facing off against a rival dynasty, there's an opportunity to come out ahead. Oh, nice one. But there's also a risk to your personal rank if you hurt prestige. And if it drops low enough, someone could challenge you for leadership. But hey, if you're not happy being part of a certain dynasty, you can go start a new one. Just make sure you choose family members who will help you gain prestige instead of lose it. Uh-oh, that secret affair better not come to light. It's important to ensure no one discovers your dirty laundry, because with devious conspirators about, every one of your family's indiscretions is a potential scandal waiting to break.
Zansmushka.
Take advantage of the situation by leveraging your new knowledge. Use it to form a trusted bond as a close, loyal confidant. Or extort them for power or simoleons, whichever. Oof, that will hurt prestige quite a bit. You can try and do damage control by declaring the troublesome dynasty member the outcast, but the effects of a scandal may last a while. Maybe it would have been better to stay in your original dynasty, but the choice is yours. Just sim it and see. Now you just have to decide if you want the crown. Ooh, shiny.
So the first thing I want to say about the trailer is I like the voice on this one so much better. I said on the last trailer in my last video that the voice was just like a little too Americanized for me, but this voice was so good. I felt like it fit the vibe of the video so well. And I do feel like the video was, again, pretty well put together. I feel like these trailers are pretty decent, especially in giving us information. I definitely feel like we got more new information with this trailer than we did the last trailer, so I was really happy about that. So let's go ahead and just kind of skim through it and talk about what it was talking about. So obviously it kind of explained how a dynasty works. It's all in the family. See, these families are not chosen to be a part of the dynasty. Everyone with the crest is a part of the dynasty. It shows that their heir is this girl. Now, obviously, she is the queen of like this area pretty much is like the story that they've been telling with her. She's like the queen of like the more African, like artsy area. I forget which neighborhood that is. I don't think it's Bellacord or the one with the V, but I can't remember what the other one is called. I may be wrong. They do go through and explain though that any family can have a dynasty as long as you just start one. So this is what the family tree looks like when you have a dynasty, and then obviously it shows the world again, but we can go in here and see that they have the Goss having a dynasty. They are supposed to be putting in the patch next week for the Goss and the Landgrabs to already have pre-set up dynasties when you load into a new save file. So that will be pretty cool. And I just love their outfit changes and their makeovers, especially this, and also showing Johnny Zest in the background because Johnny Zest is supposed to be officially being added to the family land grab tree as a disowned sim, so that's pretty cool. And I love Nancy with that hair. So here's another example of the tree, and now you can also see that they have the marriage symbols. So if they're related by marriage, they'll have that little symbol. That's new for sure, and they're definitely like spreading it out wider a little bit. I appreciate that. This is how you start a dynasty. So it'll be down here with like the clubs and the needs and all of that, but we have the owned dynasty and then view dynasties. So you can ask to be a part of a dynasty if your family has a dynasty or you're like married into someone that has a dynasty, but you can also found your own dynasty, which is what they're showing off here. And then from here we can create your own dynasty. And it's very familiar to like the clubs and the businesses and all of that. It's kind of the same system. So it looks like we can have the ruler. I don't know what that is, if this is the ruler. I don't know if there's like a second tier ruler. I don't know. In addition to those two, you have 8 more slots, and then you can choose an icon. We have skills that you want your family to try to work on, and then ideals that you want your family to kind of try to hold up. From here, there's also going to be perks you can earn through doing these skills and ideals. If we go here, it's going to show that you type in the name easily, and then there's different crests. So there's different shapes for the crest, different colors of the crest, different icons of the crest. Can we go through that slower? That like sped by really fast. I want to see more. We have a seahorse, a squid, a rose, a unicorn. I love the unicorn. We've seen the sword a lot. Let's see. We have flowers, a cow plant. Oh, I love that. I actually love that. A llama, irit anchor, phoenix. That's pretty cool. Okay, this is cool. This is cool. I like the little crest more than I thought. We have the skills here. So we have the base game skills as well as the new sword fighting skill. And it doesn't show the name of these, but it looks like one has to do like romance, one has to do with skills. This looks like a venture one maybe. And then, you know, you can add all these people that are a part of your family. Now we're talking about prestige and unity. So this is your prestige and this is your unity. And unity is how well your family gets along together. So if there's like scandals and conflict, the unity will go down. If everyone gets along great and is there for each other, it'll go up. And then we already kind of talked about prestige. Prestige is how you are seen from the people. So if you get caught in a scandal, or you lose a sword fighting battle, or you make a bad decision that makes people in the family angry, you know, anything that could negatively ruin your reputation in the public eye will ruin your prestige. And you could be ashamed to be in your family if you have a low prestige, but you can also be proud of your family and the way that people are viewing them if it has a really high prestige. And I love that there's so many levels. Like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 levels of prestige. So it can really go up and down fast. And then they talked about your own personal rank as well. So it looks like your own personal sim will have their own rank. And then here's the ideal that they're showing. So this is artistic. So they prefer your sim to be artistic. And then they're also talking about if you are the heir, you don't want to be the heir anymore, because if you're the heir, it's kind of like being the leader of the club. You get to make all the changes for the rules and the ideals and whatnot. You can easily change them out and whatnot, and as well as the members. But you have the option to pass it down to someone else, which kind of tells the story of like, hey, I'm getting too old to be the heir. Maybe you can take over. It's showing here that not everyone wants to do that. Here it goes. Declares heir, and then she says no, but this person is more willing. I don't really understand yet what makes them willing and what doesn't, but I'm sure we'll learn more on that. And then here, bold. This one's bold. It's not have to do with adventure. It's being bold. And if you want them to be bold, then if they get seen doing the fencing or the sword fighting well, your prestige will go up. And then if they lose, it'll go down. Also, as far as ideal, we have passionate. That was the other one. And then doing these well gets you perks. So you have the tutor perk, and we have the nepotism perk. So this is like helping you with business and whatnot. Easier alliances. So you can decide to propose an alliance with a different family, and like the families will like be there for each other and like stick up for each other and possibly team up against another family. But one of the perks is you can more easily convince someone to do an alliance, which is kind of cool. Oh, they're talking about this having scandals and low prestige and them like challenging you for the title. So if you have a low enough rank here, they can be like, hey, you don't need to be the heir. Your rank is too low, and challenge you. And you can also demand someone that they're the head or they leave the dynasty. And like I said, if you leave the dynasty, you can start your own dynasty, but you can only be in one dynasty at a time. And here they're just kind of like talking about choose your members carefully because there could be a scandal, like, you know, them being cheated on. And also they're about to show how you can find out about secret children. So apparently there's this book and you can research another family's tree and you can kind of find out secrets, like if they have a secret child or a secret lover or whatnot. And that's one of the ways you can find out secrets. Obviously, if you get caught or your sim catches someone cheating or something, or they find out through physical gameplay, that's one way, but you can also research. I think there's also a couple of other ways you can find out secrets, but I'm pretty sure that's one of the questions that are covered that we'll go through in the Q&A. And then from here that shows up the dotted line, the secret child, and then we have a look at the scandals. So once you learn a scandal, it'll pop up in a book and it says, turn out Emilio has a child that his spouse doesn't know about. Remaining time 3 days. So during this time you can choose to reveal the secret or make a bond with them. And if you do the bond, you won't tell anyone and they'll trust you. If you reveal it, everyone will know and their prestige will go down. And then also you can just be like, hey, give me some money or give me the title of the heir if you don't want the secret getting out. That's kind of how that works. And I think that's kind of how the same way it works with royals as well. And this is just showing them outcasting them because it's ruining their prestige. So they're like, you're no longer part of the family dynasty. You're kicked out of the family, basically, which is very interesting. And then here again, they're talking about the dueling for the throne, or not the throne, the heir title. And then just a zoom in on the crown, which I am obsessed with this crown. I'm obsessed with all the crowns and the swords in this pack. I think they're so nice. Now, I feel like we've seen most of this decor and clothing by now. I feel like I've pointed out most of this and we just went through slowly. So I'm not going to go through and point out all the new outfits again like I have in the last 2 trailers. I do like this though. I really like the decor in this trailer though. I will say that. Like, I've been looking at the background decor and like the architecture and whatnot. I think it's all really nice. Last trailer I was more focused on the outfits for some reason. This time I was more focused on like the decor. I love this plant. Like, all of this is really nice, just going through and looking at the decor. Some of the wall prints are a little crazy though, but I do like the African inspiration. Like, I feel like that's something the game has needed for quite a while now, so I can really appreciate that as well. Just going through a couple of the clips so you have the chance to pause and look yourself if you want to. There's a lot of like pots and fancy stuff, which, I mean, fits the vibe. That is pretty much the trailer. And now I want to go ahead and go through the Q&A questions that was filled in Discord. So pretty much the Sims community, the same as last time we made a video on this pack, they went through and typed out all the questions that was in the Discord Q&A, and I went through them and I decided which ones I wanted to talk about. Some of them were kind of repetitive and there was a lot of them, so I didn't really talk about the repetitive ones or stuff that I felt like was already very clear. So it's not every single question, but there's still a lot of questions to go through. I've saved the images on my computer, so I have that pulled up, and we're just gonna jump in and start reading the questions. They're kind of in random order. There's no like specific organization, but I feel like it does give a lot of detail and they explain a lot of things. So let's go ahead and just start with, can kids join Dynastys? And yes, they can. Anyone that is a direct family member can join a dynasty, whether that be blood or marriage. And then the next question says, is there a cap on dynasty members? There's no cap on dynasty members. You can have it says you can have as many members here. The UI will show you 8, but you can add more beyond. Maybe that's what the other button was. It was to add more. Okay, that's cool. Okay. And then it says, is it possible to edit skills and values from the dynasty ever? And it says, as long as you're the head of the dynasty, you can do that. But it says, some of the Sims may not be happy if you change something that does not align with their traits, which is fair. And then the next question is, can you have a dynasty without being royalty? We've already gone over this. Yes, any family can be a dynasty. I'm sure you have a lot coming in, but I was curious how inviting other households into the dynasty works. Are they now related to your sim? Yes, you have to be related either by family ties or by marriage. If there is a sim you really want to be a part of your family, you can always propose or adopt them. So apparently now we're getting the option to adopt family members, not just like kids though. Like, you can literally adopt adult, which I feel like is another question that's going to be asked in a minute. But I thought that was really exciting that they're adding I'm assuming that's going to be part of the base game update, like being able to adopt an adult into your household. So that's pretty cool. And then also, like I said, either blood or marriage. And then I think also they're making it to where you can specifically choose like an adopted child to be part of the dynasty as well. And then it says, is the scandal system only limited to dynasties, or can other sims suffer them as well? And it says the scandal system is not limited to dynasties. The feature is separate. Your sims who aren't dynasties can still have secret scandals and extort sims. So scandal system isn't just related to dynasties. It can be a part of just everyday gameplay, which is interesting. And it says how to earn the dynasty perks. So this explains how we do the dynasty perks. And it says, as your dynasty member follows the values and do the aligned actions, the dynasty will increase in prestige level. Each prestige level grants points that you can spend on dynasty perks. So you can earn the points and then choose the perks you get, which is really nice. And I think that's how you get like the romantic one, the passion one. So I'm really excited about that because I want to play around with that. And then it says, will there be any cross-pack ideals? It says, yes, all the ideals cover the base game and the extra playable content that is legible. The list is very thorough, so I will probably try to do a whole list on that, considering I have most of the packs. I don't have like 2 of them. That's pretty much it. Like the Star Wars pack and the My Shino stuff pack I don't have. We'll pretty much be able to look at all the dynamic ideals for that and the skills and whatnot. And then it says, are there any special dynasty perks related to occults? And yes, we made a few to try to honor them. And then it says, can a child be there be a child to 2 dynasty? Like, what happens, for example, example, if the Caps and the Montes have 2 heirs who marry, what dynasty will their child belong to? And it says when a new baby is born, from different dynasties, you'll be able to choose which dynasty you want them to join at birth. So apparently if you have a dynasty, like 2 dynasties, they'll ask you which dynasty you want the baby to be a part of, which is very interesting to me. And then it says, in the trailer, it shows only 2 options for you to discover a scandal: agreeing to keep it a secret or sorting other Sims. Just like with the secrets in For Rent, is there not another option to reveal the secret to everyone? And they do clarify that there are a lot of options for scandals. If your Sim discovers another Sim secret, they can expose it to the world, causing a scandal. And you can also extort for money, headship of the dynasty, or if the Sim is a noble, you can force them to abide. So pretty much they're saying that you can expose it to the world for money, headship of the dynasty, or the Sim's noble. That is kind of all the things you can do with a scandal, which isn't necessarily related to dynasty, but there are a few questions here that aren't specifically dynasty related. This is asking, will there be cross-pack dynamic ideals? Same as earlier, yes, they will discourage and encourage career activities extract from past packs and skills as well. And then it's like, can you create their own merged dynasty? You can now merge dynasties when 2 members get married, creating a new dynasty with a starting boost prestige based on the original dynasties. So apparently if 2 members of a dynasty marry and start their own dynasty and leave those dynasties, you'll get perks, which is pretty cool. And then it says, does this pack have any cross covers with political careers at all? And then it says, yes, if you're a politician, Sims in a dynasty with diplomatic values, they will gain more prestige for family each time they go to work and rank faster within the dynasty's position. So here's the question I already answered earlier that I said was coming up, but right here it confirms that we can now adopt adults. And then this one has a load of questions on it. So it says, will this be retroactive to current saves, or will we have to start new saves to have a full play? And it says it's going to be retroactive, that she actually tested this with her 10-year-old save file. That's an old save file. Oh my goodness. Okay. This only person's question is it possible to import the new Goss and Landgrab's dynasty into older saves? The Goss and the Landgrabs are getting the dynasty like I talked about earlier. The Landgrab's family tree will be updated, but it says you can't modify its existing save file. So the gameplay is retroactive, but the dynasty or the Goss and Landgrabs are only for new saves, but you can recreate their dynasties in your older saves. And then it says, how does it work inviting other households into your dynasty? Do they automatically become related to your Sims? You can only add other Sims who are related to them by blood or marriage. I feel like we've been over this point a million times, but it was in there. Can a Sim be a part of more than one dynasty? And we've already covered this. No, just the one. They can leave the dynasty and start their own dynasty, especially if they get married. They can only be a part of one dynasty at a time. It doesn't have to be in your direct household. It can be multiple people from multiple households. Then it says, is it possible for one dynasty to have 2 or even more kingdom rulers, kind of like conquering the world? And yes, you can do that. Dynasty is not a part of the royalty career. So if you chose the dynasty to only be every member of the ruling kingdoms, then all of them would be rulers, which is pretty cool. And then, is it possible to edit skills and values of the dynasty? And as long as you're the head of the dynasty, you can. Like, do you have to manually designate the heir, or is it automatically? So you do have to manually choose the heir in its slot, and it's not permanent. You can change it whenever you want, kind of like the club member. And it says, will scandal and extradition autonomously happen into our Sims from other households we aren't playing, or can the active household trigger them into other Sims? And it says, extortion will only happen to Sims you're playing with, either through your Sims extorting other or your Sim being extorted. But you can reveal the scandals of Sims outside your household and see the effect happening to them. Then it kind of shows here another shot of that book that we already looked at earlier. And it says, how can a Sim discover scandals of other dynasties? Okay, so this is where I was talking about like that book you can do. So all the way it lists off is obviously the book and just asking people about the target Sim, but you can also dig through the trash, hack for secrets, explore secret passageways, ways, ask the enchanted mirror, and buy secrets from the Info Brooker's website. So there's a bunch of ways to find secrets. I didn't know them off the top of my head, but I knew there was a bunch of different ways. And then the next question is, can the quote secret children of the Dynastys be made in cast or generated in game like the long lost family members are growing together? It says not in cast. Has to be in-game only. The secrecy is generated upon birth when you choose from a drop-down menu of who the baby daddy will be. That's pretty exciting that we can at least choose in-game to have a baby be a secret. I feel like that will be good for a lot of storytelling. And then it says, can we make our own king and queens in cast and they stay king and queen of their children even if their children say no? This clarifies that legacy gain is gained by working hard. It's not in cast but playing through the career, but you can always cheat. So you can make your sim a ruler of a kingdom, and I think like in the world you can choose like what family is going to be the ruler, and then you can put them in the career and whatnot and have them be the ruler. And then it says, if you're royal on the throne, can you hire a royal advisor? If so, can the advisor be a family member? Yes and yes. I'm assuming this means that you can choose a family member to be an advisor, not have your advisor become a family member. Do new family members get automatically put in to Dynastys? And that is a no. They have to be manually added. It says in the trailer, the option for someone to reject being the heir was shown. Is there something that triggers it random? And it says that there's a series of criteria taken into consideration for the outcome, but she won't say which, but it's not random. So I don't know exactly how that works, but some sims will say no, some will say yes. And it says, is a child only considered worthy of being an heir if the parents are married, or can a child be born out of wedlock so become the heir? It says if the child is a member of the dynasty, they can be said as the heir. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be a person's child, just as long as the child is part of the dynasty. Then it says, how do alliances work? Can they only be forged from monarchs or dynasty heads? Only dynasty heads can forge alliances with other dynasty heads. No other titles are required to become the head, as we want dynasties and nobilities to work independently depending on how you want to play. A long one here, but it says, replying to the polyamory question, she lost the exact questions. The sandals can be taken into consideration to relationships boundaries. So if your sim is in a polyamorous relationship, engaging in romantic with others will not be seen as scandalous. So I thought that was pretty fun. It says, can the royals arrange marriages for their children like they can in real life? And it says you can encourage your kid to court with someone, which I thought was pretty neat because that is a feature in a lot of religions. So I feel like that will be good for those people, or just storytelling. This one also had a picture with it, but it says she lost the question again, but there are reward traits for dynasties. You can buy reward traits allowing progeny to inherit mental, physical, social, and creative boosts. So those are the perks that we talked about that you could buy earlier. This one says, is the extortion secret being revealed all players direct it, or is there a chance of play sims getting assorted, or is there secrets revealed by NPCs? And it says an NPC may call your sim and threaten to extort them. If you don't pay up or find another way to silence the extortion, then that sim scandal will be revealed, but there's a way to turn it off in the settings. But I kind of like the scandal aspect. Then it says, can neighborhood stories create dynasties of its own? And it says no, they cannot. And then it says, is every baby out of wedlock a scandal, or only one of the parents is married? And it says it's only a scandal if the pregnant sim lies about the parenthood of the baby. So apparently there'll be like an interaction you can do to lie and cover up yourself, but it says otherwise a baby out of wedlock is not considered scandalous. And then it expands to say if a sim is pregnant from another sim who does not match with who the spouse is, there will be a drop down upon birth to choose who is the canon baby daddy will be. There will be a series of interactions interactions to deal or not with that later, and it will potentially trigger a scandal as well. And then it says, do the new families have scandals we can discover outside Cordelia's? And yes, pay attention to their notebooks. We created personalities as much as we could. We love lore. And then it says, does the dynasty their royal family, or does it just mean they're an influential family? It just means they're influential. Dynasty and noble careers are separate, but that does mean if you're in a dynasty, you're just kind of known. What are other ways to silence them with the scandals? So it says there's also an information broker that you can pay via the computer to bury the sim secret, and that sim might be in the neighborhood as well. Who knows? And then we have a look at our family tree here. It says there's a dotted line to the fake dad and one to the real dad, or sims in the UI who gives birth. I don't think it's showing it here, but we did kind of see that before. It says if you access either of the sims, you will only see either parenthood, meaning the sims who the truth will see it all. Other sims will only see what they quote know. What happens if a king from a world A and a queen from world B it's a child without moving in together? Which family does the child belong to? So the baby would join the household of the parent that gives birth, but you can choose which dynasty they join. And then for those asking, adopted sims will appear as adopted in the family tree. It's a setting. You can choose how you want to display it in the dynasty. If a monarch dies before the heir reaches adulthood, can the heir still take over as monarch or queen, considering it's a career? And then it says they keep their title almost consummatically since they cannot action on it till they are teens. But the claim when they reach the age that will let them jump into the career at level 10, effectively making them king, queen, or any custom title you prefer. And it says, can dynasty members go for the head of no hero is chosen? Dynasty members who want to be the heir can ask or even extort their head into choosing them as heir. Or if they have specific values, they can challenge the head for their position through chess match or duel or even a fight. Otherwise, dynasty members who rank higher than the head can just slurp the position. And it says, can we hear more about the noble frog prince? Is there lore on him? And this I found interesting. It says there's not a single prince or princess. They may not even have that rank. There are many noble frogs, and each have their own rate, starting from level 4, which is already quite a shortcut to nobility career if you were to marry them. So that's very interesting. Then it says, I want to ask what the knights are and what they do and how they are relevant to the dynasties. Also, the same for advisors. Knight sims are any sims of the level 1 noble career. So that is like the level 1, the noble career, you're a knight. They will still get a noble advisor. So any other sim, you can choose to be your noble advisor. And then additionally, noble advisors themselves to someone else. So you don't have to be a noble to be an advisor, but you can combine it if you want. I think around level 4, nobles gain the ability to knight other sims. So that's good. You only have to be level 4 to knight other sims. That's pretty exciting. And it says, will stepfamily and half siblings have final relationship tags? And that is yes. I'm hoping that's a base game update. And then, are there any dynamic criteria that can be linked to Parsley? And says, personally, I think the bold and victorious dynasties ideal would work for Pirate Dynasty. And then it says, how do the secret passages work? So the passages do many things. Sims have to inspect them first to find out the shortcuts are available, but then those can be explored for the Sims to appear somewhere else where there is a passageway as well. They can also serve as an intimate spot for Sims and be tampered with, which leads to death. You have to inspect them, which is a little annoying, but there's a lot of gameplay tied to them. I think they said you can tie a certain passageway to another specific place, but I'm not sure exactly how that works. And it says, He reveals examples of decrees. Yes, for example, we have a decree called the Silver Charter that gives the benefits to elders. They no longer will get woohoo exhausted and improve skill gain. Then we have, can we legitimately eliminate children, or at least particularly recognize them somehow? And secret children can be discovered, the secret can be exposed, and everyone will know about them. The child then can be added to the dynasty. And then it says, can passageways work like elevators? Yes or no? This is a very important to me. If I click here, will my sim automatically go to the passageway? And it says, if you mean like portals, yes. And that is all the questions. Like I said, I didn't every single one that was on the list, but I did get most of them, and I feel like that gave us a good amount of information. I always feel like the Q&As do really well, and I appreciate the Sims community for putting them on their website. I just don't directly show the website because it just has a bunch of ads on it, so it's just easier to screenshot them. So sorry it's weird, I was going through photos. That is pretty much everything I wanted to talk about when it came to the Royalty and Legacy Dynasty. It kind of tried to explain my best how it worked through the facts that they gave. There is one other thing I wanted to look at in this video, and that is the fact that we are getting a new event. Surprise, surprise, a new expansion pack is coming out. We're getting a new event a week or two before. So February 3rd, the same day we are getting the patch update next week. So we'll get a patch update as well as an event the same day. And it says that the new event starts February 3rd, but all we know about it is this picture right here currently. Maybe more information will be leaked on it throughout the week, but it says the new event starts February 3rd. Mark on a whirlwind of adventure and complete weekly quests to earn exciting rewards like the Master of Grudges aspiration and the Cap Library bookcases, which I thought was pretty fun that they have a whole aspiration that you can get. I'm kind of assuming that'll be like the grand prize, but it would be exciting if they gave you the aspiration and then like had you play through it. But this will be what is the promotion for the Royalty and Legacy expansion pack, and it will be around Valentine's Day, so I'm hoping there'll be some kind of like romantic involvement, but we really won't know till next week, till the event comes out, or if they put out an article beforehand. But I thought it was interesting that they at least put in the game that the event is starting. So that is pretty much all the news I have for you today. The only other thing I saw going around that I thought was interesting, but I couldn't find it again after I went to go look for it, is there was a Discord competition as like a build competition that will get you a free copy of Royalty and Legacy. If you don't want to spend your money on that, that is something you can interest in. And I don't remember where I saw it, but I swear I saw there being a competition on Discord that will get you a chance to earn the free pack. I thought it was worth mentioning. But with that, I'm going to wrap up this video here. If you made it to this part of the video, I hope you found it informative and entertaining, because that was the whole purpose. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and do all that awesome stuff, because you guys are awesome people. I'll see you next time. All right,